will join us to give an update on how voting is going. I'm Ernie Manous.
And I'm Frank Billingsley. We'll also hear from Houston Public Media reporter Andrew Schneider, who will give us an in-depth look into the history of the 18th Congressional District.
And I'm Celestia Sherman. Plus, we'll also learn about a support group for mothers of kids with disabilities and how their upcoming annual holiday market empowers their kids.
Also, we want to hear from you. Give us a call or text us, 713-440-8870, or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. You can also watch us on YouTube by going to houstonpublicmedia.org.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. Senate Republicans are again attempting to overcome Democratic opposition to a short-term spending measure that would reopen the government. They were unable to do so the last 13 times, and that's dragged out the shutdown to 35 days, tied now for the longest in U.S. history. Last time it went that long was during President Trump's first term. Hundreds of thousands of federal workers are furloughed or working without pay. Services are limited. The federal food assistance program, SNAP, ran out of money over the weekend. Even though the Trump administration said it was tapping into contingency funds, it says it can only pay out 50% this month of what people normally get. That stands to affect tens of millions of people, such as Phoenix resident Shalise Hooks, who is unemployed and has a 15-year-old son.
It's hard because he's in high school, and when he comes home, he's hungry. It's okay, Mom. I know it's not okay.
Hooks is among 42 million people who depend on federal food assistance. Voters across Virginia are heading to the polls. In central Virginia, where demographics and political leanings have led to a blue shift in the once red state, Radio IQ's Brad Kuttner spoke to voters about what got them to the polls early today.
Though they didn't want to say who they voted for in the race for Virginia governor between Democrat Abigail Spanberger and Republican Winsome Earl-Sears, two voters talked about why they voted. Keisha Spencer is a preschool center director in Chesterfield. She said federal cuts to programs inspired her to vote.
Cutting things like Head Start is terrible for our community. These are children that's going to be taking care of us once we're old.
68-year-old retired CPA James Walker says he's voted every year since he was 18. He said it was his duty, responsibility, and privilege to vote.
I'm worried about my country, and I'm more concerned about that. And so to that extent, I think a more conservative approach in this country is better at this time.
For NPR News, I'm Brad Kuttner in Richmond.
Former Vice President Dick Cheney has died. He was 84. NPR's Don Gagné looks back at Cheney's long tenure as a Washington power player.
Dick Cheney grew up in Nebraska, flunked out of Yale, but eventually headed back to school. By age 34, he was chief of staff to President Gerald Ford. He won a congressional seat in Wyoming and later was defense secretary to President George H.W. Bush. After a stint as CEO of the energy firm Halliburton, Cheney was named George W. Bush's running mate. He was an unusually influential vice president and an unwavering proponent of an aggressive U.S. military policy following the 9/11 attacks. That included going to war in Iraq to confront Iraq's alleged possession of weapons of mass destruction. No such weapons were ever found. Cheney, though, was unrepentant to the end. Don Gagné, NPR News.
It's NPR.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Alexandra Hart. Today is Election Day in Texas, and voting is underway. There are 17 amendments to the state constitution on the ballot this year. Feliza Ben-Cosme voted at the West Gray Multi-Service Center and says she doesn't understand why some of them are necessary.
Today, for example, we are voting on whether or not parents have sovereignty over their children. Why is this necessary for a constitutional amendment? Again, it's just a very sad state of affairs that we're in.
There's also a special election for the 18th Congressional District and a special election for Houston City Council position, all of which you can read more about on our website, houstonpublicmedia.org. Meanwhile, News 88.7's Sarah Gruno just spoke with the Harris County Clerk. Sarah, what's the latest?
Good morning. County Clerk Teneshia Hudspeth says that election workers have not seen any issues at polling locations so far this morning. Turnout for Election Day so far has already surpassed 30,000 voters, and they're hoping to see a turnout of about 200,000 voters in total today. Her office says that the 2026 election day is on track to be the second highest turnout for an off-year election. There are 17 state constitutional amendments on the ballot across Texas, and polling locations across Harris County are open until 7 p.m. today, and voters can cast a vote at any polling location across Harris County.
That's News 88.7's Sarah Gruno reporting. Stay tuned. We'll be bringing you more updates throughout the day. Houston Mayor John Whitmire wants to expand the area in the city where homeless people are discouraged from loitering on sidewalks. The city council is scheduled to consider an expansion of the so-called civility ordinance on Wednesday to cover the 2nd Ward in East Houston. If approved, the 2nd Ward would become the 13th area in Houston where the civility ordinance is in place, joining East Downtown, the Central Business District, and Midtown, among others. Right now it's 71 degrees on the University of Houston campus. Good voting weather today, sunny with a high of 78. I'm Alexandra Hart, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from ARM, committed to delivering innovative, advanced computing designed to enable worldwide companies to unleash the capabilities and experiences of AI. The future of AI is built on ARM. ARM.com. This is NPR.
Live from the University of Houston, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's your host for Hello Houston, Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, Ernie.
We're here.
Hello, Frank.
And it's Ernie's holiday.
Oh, my Lord.
What is today, Ernie?
Today is the best day of the year. It's when we all have a chance to let our voice be heard and shape our region, our nation, our city, our school boards, our amendments to our constitutions. It is Election Day, and if you haven't gone out to vote right now, I will give you permission even to leave this show right now if you go to vote.
No.
Yes.
We don't. 2-1, no.
Well, I'm sorry. This is the most important thing you will do today or all year. It's important. Voting. Also, 600 polling locations are open, and I hear there's almost no lines anywhere. So you can get in and get out.
Alex Garza, who's one of our big YouTubers, received a text from a friend that said the West U location was having tech issues, so they left to go to another location. So what you're saying is good news. If the first place you go is having an issue, the next place
you can go anywhere.
You shouldn't have any problem.
Now, just to clarify that too, it's only for Harris County. Other counties around us don't have the go anywhere. You have to go to your own polling location. Teneshia Hudspeth will be with us in a little bit. She can clarify that. Mm-hmm. But if you're a Harris County registered voter, you can go anywhere.
Yes. You know what else I've been really enjoying?
What?
The weather.
Oh, my gosh. It was 50
Celeste
degrees
wants Ernie
this
to
morning.
stop talking about elections for 1 second.
Yes.
Well, I mean, it's great weather for voting.
Thank you, Frank.
You cannot blame me for if you can't get to the polls. You can walk to the polls on a day like today. It's beautiful. It's good. We're going to have a little warming trend through the next few days, but then another front comes in on Sunday, and we get back to a nice little November fall. So,
yeah.
Good. And this beautiful moon. Oh my gosh!
Tell us about the
it's
moon.
going to be a super moon tomorrow morning at 8:19 in the morning. But tonight and tomorrow night it'll look big and beautiful and full. You know, technically the moon is only full for a nanosecond, right? Yeah. And then it starts going to unfull. But it looks full for 2 nights, and it'll look full tonight and tomorrow night. Now here's the gross part. It's called the full beaver moon because this was the time that hunters would kill beavers for their pelts to get ready for the cold winter, so they would have fur to keep them warm. So it's kind of sad. There are probably other names from Native Americans, but that was the original.
Well, if you're thinking about staying warm, staying fed, staying employed. Voting is the best thing you can do for it. So, Celeste, just start us right off with our headlines.
Yes, thank you, Ernie. We're going to jump right into the headlines. Today, as Ernie said, is Election Day. In Harris County, a congressional and city council seat are up for consideration, as well as 17 state constitutional amendments, many involving taxes. And don't forget, tonight you can join Hello Houston host Ernie Manous, Houston Public Media Politics and Government reporter Andrew Schneider, and Party Politics co-host Jeronimo Cortina for live special coverage of the local and statewide elections. They are going to be on and join us for results and analysis after the polls close. Special coverage begins tomorrow at 8 p.m. on News 88.7 and online at houstonpublicmedia.org and streaming live on Houston Public Media YouTube page.
Actually, it is tonight, not tomorrow night.
That's what I was just
They have
thinking.
the script wrong, but yeah, tonight.
It is tonight. And again, special coverage begins tonight at 8 p.m. right here on News 88.7 and online at houstonpublicmedia.org and streaming live on Houston Public Media's YouTube page. And another special guest on tonight's show will be Harris County Clerk Teneshia Hudspeth, who is joining us now to give us some updates on how so far the day is coming along. Teneshia, how's it going out there?
Yeah, well, it's rocking and rolling. Over 54, almost 55,000 voters have cast their ballots so far this morning. Nice. So I just hope those numbers keep rising through the rest of Election Day, through 7 o'clock p.m. today. So we encourage voters to visit Harris Votes if you're looking for the vote center nearest you, to go and get your specific sample ballot off of there, take some documents, written materials to help you out if you're trying to remember those propositions. But voters have definitely been voting since 7 a.m. this morning. They have been going out to cast their ballot and make their voices heard this election cycle.
Have you guys heard of from your office, have y'all heard of any issues at any of the locations that people should be aware about?
Yeah, not that people should be aware about. We've been, voting many voters. Obviously, we get tech calls and calls from election sites, but we address them within a pretty short time range, whether it's, hey, I've got a concern with this. We have techs in the field to address it. So nothing that impacts the voters. Voters should be able to go cast their ballot, and they've got plenty of time to do so. And I just heard you mention weather. I've been inside running around for quite a while this morning, but the weather is gorgeous, so no excuses.
Absolutely. I have a question, because we asked this yesterday. Metro, Ernie always says, free Metro rides to the polls.
Yes.
How many people take advantage of that?
That I don't know. We'd have to get some statistical data from Metro, but I do know that Metro has started to serve not only just a couple of days on early voting, but all of early voting in Election Day. So if you ride Metro and you're going to vote, just make sure you have something that indicates you're a voter and you get to ride for free. But I don't have the actual data on that. That might be something we can kind of look into to see if voters are using that opportunity to ride for free to their local election poll.
Couple quick points. I just want to reaffirm what you just said. harrisvotes.com is where you go for all the information. Printed notes you can take in, no cell phones. If you've got your cheat sheet on your cell phone for how to vote, you can't do that. So print it out on paper or handwrite it out. There's not that much on the ballot this time, so you can handle writing it on a card or two. You had a press conference about 10 a.m. this morning, and somebody brought up a question about a particular polling location. You didn't seem to know about it. I haven't heard anything about it. Is there anything to the Briar Grove situation?
We checked on that immediately after, and it was just a matter of a voter not placing their paper in the actual printer properly, which happens. It was a user error, but our election workers just simply walked over, helped them process and move forward. So, these are not new things. This happens every single election cycle, and we were able to find out about it very quickly. The voter had voted and left by that time.
What about Westview location? We got a comment that Westview had a problem.
I haven't received any information on Westview. Doesn't mean that our team is not working on it, but we can look into it shortly after I'm finished this call.
Yeah. And the good thing about it is if you do, as we said, if you do go to a location and there is even the slightest issue, you have 600 locations plus open right now across the county.
You can vote absolutely anywhere. And do know, look, if there's any delays or any concerns about that, our office will indicate that to the general public, whether it's on social media or in a larger platform. But you're right, 600 vote centers to choose from where you can vote absolutely anywhere until 7 o'clock p.m. As long as you're in line by 7 p.m., you will be permitted to vote. Not running from the parking lot at 7, but actually at 4 at 7.
Teneshia, my mom always volunteered for elections. She loved it. So I want to ask you this: how many volunteers are working for you today? And I want to give them a big shout out. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Over 6,600. So over 6,000 election workers are in the field today. So please make sure once you get your I voted sticker or before when you're walking in to thank an election worker.
Absolutely.
For serving. Yes, they're paid, but it's really volunteer based. But look, they take out time to train and prepare so that voters have more than enough polling locations to choose from.
And they're super nice, all of them.
Yes,
and they're always super nice. They're always happy to see you. You walk in there, they're like, "Are you here to vote?"
That's right. They are looking for people to serve. So give the election workers a reason to work and not twiddle their thumbs and wait on voters. Give them some work to do.
Now, is there a way for people to get in time line waiting times?
Like the DMV?
Yes.
Yes. So if you go to harrisvotes.com, there is a wait time feature. By every polling location, you will see like a green, yellow, or red kind of indicator. Obviously, green means go, right? There's probably no line or wait time. Yellow means there might be a little traffic. Red means there's probably a line. Right now, we've not had significant lines since the start of early voting or election day, since the start of election day this morning. But, it always picks up right between that 5 to 7 p.m. time frame. So, again, you have 600 locations to choose from. That wait time feature can be the factor in which you choose what polling location to go to.
Quickly, when we do talk about Harris County, and you can go to any location, other counties near us might not have the same freedom, correct?
Mm-hmm. That's right. So if you're in Harris County, you're a registered voter in Harris County, you vote in that county. But if you're in Fort Bend, Brazoria, or Montgomery, you have to go to your local election official's office there to verify what vote centers are available, if they're countywide, or if you have to vote in the precinct in which you're registered. But in Harris County, we're countywide. You do have to vote in the precinct and the political subdivision which you're registered. Sometimes people hear anywhere and they think they can cross, county lines. So that's not true. That's right.
Texas 18th, Ben, I'm trying to rush through this because I know you've got a very busy day, and you're going to rejoin us this evening a little after 8 to tell us how everything went. Texas 18th has been vacant since March 2025. This is an important one, but people are confused because of redistricting. We are still on the old map, correct?
We are still on the old map. So if you've always been in Congressional District 18 and you live in that area, according to this November ballot, you're still able to vote in the same district. And that is so if there is a runoff election. Those lines will not change until 2026 midterm elections, unless, there's some other legal challenges or changes that come into place. But again, if you've been in CD18, you'll still be in CD18 to vote this November election. There are 16 candidates in that race, so do your homework before you go.
Yeah,
so just to make clear, the amendments that we're all voting on, those are simple majority, right? I mean,
that's right.
By one vote.
It's a simple majority for or against. And so those are simple majority, but there are other races like school board races with actual candidates and some bond propositions as well for small jurisdictions. So they are simple one way or the other, right? Not candidates listed.
Okay, so the ones that aren't and need runoffs, when will those be? Because it seems like we were talking yesterday and some might be in December, some might be in January, some might be in March. Do you have any idea?
Yeah, so we'll likely have runoffs. That's just the nature of the beast here in Harris County and the amount of candidates. All runoffs for this November election for political jurisdictions that require them will be in December, except for Congressional District 18. Congressional District 18 runoff will not take place until January of 2026. And the reason being is because it's a congressional race. By law, you can't have the election before 70 days or past 77 days of the canvass of the election. And we've got to have 45 days to get mail ballots out into the field. So if there are runoffs, it will be everyone in December except for Congressional District 18.
And would that be soon enough to be sworn in January?
Yeah, after every election, the results are unofficial until about 10 to 14 days after that election. Once the election is canvassed and we finish out all other potential ballots that could be counted or reconciled, then that person will be able to take office immediately, be sworn in immediately following that election to begin to finish out the work of that term.
Let me, you mentioned mail-in ballots and problems with that when it comes to the runoffs because of the amount of time. For today, if you have a mail-in ballot and you haven't mailed it yet, what are your options?
Yes, if you have your mail-in ballot, you have several options. One is you can take your mail ballot to our downtown headquarters, which is 1019 Congress. There's a tent right outside that building, and you will be able to bring your mail ballot, go through that process. You still have to provide your ID to identify that you are the person returning that mail ballot. You can also simply take your mail ballot to a nearby vote center, any one of those 600, and surrender the mail ballot and vote a regular ballot. The only drop-off station is the 1019 Congress, but if you want to go ahead and vote a regular ballot and surrender it at a vote center, you can do so or vote curbside.
Okay, curbside voting. Some people were questioning that before. We've talked about it. It is the law that there has to be curbside voting at all polling locations, correct?
That's right. Every single polling location has a curbside buzzer. It is typically right around the handicap parking or somewhere prevalent in the entrance of the building. And once you hit that buzzer, an election worker will come out and serve you. Please, have a little patience, because if those election workers are already processing other voters, it might take them a little time to come in and prepare to give you the information you need.
Okay, IDs, driver's license, military ID, passport. What else can they bring?
That's right. Yeah, so any Texas ID, formal ID, driver's license. There's also a Texas election identification card, U.S. passport, birth certificate, U.S. military ID, Texas handgun license. I think that pretty much covers all of the options. It's 7. You can find all this information at harrisvotes.com.
The one thing you don't really need is your voter registration card.
Yeah, you don't have to have that voter registration card. Gone are the days that you need to carry that card with you. But hey, if there are a lot of people who carry their card inside their wallet, they've just done it forever, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they like having their voter registration card with them. So again, one of those photo IDs is it's a smooth process. You're in and out in no time.
And if you move, so your driver's license has that you were on 123 Baker Street and now you're on 345 Jones Street, that's okay.
Yes. So yes, if you need to change your address, what you can fill out at the poll is a SOR form, which means statement of residence. You can still vote according to where you're registered and fill out a statement of residence form, and your address will be updated for the next election.
So no reason not to get out there.
And also when people sit around and say, my vote doesn't matter, when you have a low turnout election and you've got a ton of candidates running, for example, in the Texas 18th, you could see a successor to the runoff by just a couple of votes. And so every vote matters. We have over 2.5 million registered voters in Harris County. And so far in early voting, only a little over 200,000 voted. We're hoping for at least 200,000 more today. Those are still tiny numbers. So everyone, heed our words. Get out there and vote. It's your right and your freedom to do it. And you really could make a difference.
You can. There are some races that are literally won by 20 ballots or 100 ballots. So when people say their vote doesn't count, I mean, that's a clear example of how every single vote counted. There's one candidate that asked 20 more people to vote for them to turn out. So make sure that your name is accounted for in this election cycle.
Harris County Clerk Teneshia Hudspeth, thank you so much for joining us today. We understand you're probably very busy and that you took the time.
We'll see you tonight at 8 o'clock.
Thank you so much. We'll see you tonight.
Talk to you tonight.
Right, thank you. Yes, and again, tonight there will be special coverage. It begins at 8 p.m. right here on News 88.7 with our very own Hello Houston host, Hernie Manous, Houston Public Media Politics and Government reporter, Andrew Schneider, and Party Politics co-host, Jeronimo Cortina.
Why Ernie?
Because I'm so excited about elections.
I know. You're the perfect person to host.
I'm a cheerleader for voting. And again, get out there and vote.
Have you ever missed an election? You be honest.
Yes, I did. It was back when I was at Loyola in college, and I didn't vote. And so I went around. I was working in the library at the time. I went around and I found a librarian who was diametrically opposed to everything I was in favor of. and she said she wouldn't vote either, and therefore we didn't feel like either of us wasted our vote because we would have canceled each other out.
Like my mother and father.
We did get a text that says the only wasted vote is the one not cast. CK
Hallelujah.
from Magnolia. CK, thank you for that text. Yes. And again, this is so important, and sometimes these are the more important ones to go out there and vote.
And you also have so much more of a chance to have your voice heard when it's a low turnout election. Your vote really does matter. Alex Garza writes online, I'm using my Blockbuster card. Just kidding.
What's that?
Oh, thank you, Celeste.
But like Brandon Rottenhouse and people that are really tuned into the way the Poynter Institute, tuned into the way people are feeling and thinking, even though this seems like it's just a bunch of amendments and maybe a race or two, they can take that information and glean it and say, you know what, this is the way our part of America is feeling.
Yes.
That whether you realize it or not, the way we end up voting on these amendments are going to tell political people a lot about the way we're feeling.
Which brings up a good point. When you're preparing to vote on the amendments, a lot of people are thinking yes or no, but that's not what you vote in the booth, so don't let that throw you. It's for or against, so realize that when you're in there to vote on.
Coming up on Hello Houston, Houston Public Media reporter Andrew Schneider will give us an in-depth look into the history of the 18th Congressional District. This is News 88.7. Stay with us.
Want to binge All Creatures Great and Small, catch up on Nova, or revisit Ken Burns' documentaries? You can with PBS Passport. With a gift of $5 or more per month to Houston Public Media, you'll get access to PBS Passport that lets you watch your favorite programs anytime you want. Support the programs you love and enjoy them on your own schedule with PBS Passport. Make your gift now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
Earth's oceans are full of mysteries that boggle the minds of scientists.
The deep sea is it's a challenging environment and a spooky one.
We'll talk with an ocean researcher about how fish float, how aquatic creatures navigate through the water, and the fascinating ways they've evolved to protect themselves. That's next time on Think.
Coming up tonight at 10 o'clock.
Hi, I'm Manoush Zamarodi, and our world is changing so fast. On the TED Radio Hour, we invite innovators, researchers, and activists to unpack those changes with us.
Just about all companies are becoming technology companies or technology-enabled companies.
Listen to the TED Radio Hour from NPR every week for conversations that will deepen your understanding of our changing world.
The TED Radio Hour, Tuesdays at 9 p.m. on News 88.7. Houston Public Media is a service of the University of Houston and is supported with your gifts to the Houston Public Media Foundation. More information available online at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
Support comes from Alley Theater. Performances of A Christmas Carol, presented by UT Health Houston, begins November 16th and features Ebenezer Scrooge and the spirits who teach the meaning of the holiday season. More at alleytheater.org.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on any of today's topics, call 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now back to Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
It's Election Day, your chance to make your voice heard. Across Texas, voters are weighing in on 17 proposed constitutional amendments, and depending on where you live, we're choosing local representation on school boards and city hall, even a seat in Washington, D.C. One way drawing national attention is the contest to fill the seat once held by Congressman Sylvester Turner, representing Texas' 18th Congressional District in the U.S. House of Representatives. To help us better understand what's at stake, we turn now to News 88.7 politics and government reporter Andrew Schneider for this in-depth report.
What should people who live outside the 18th Congressional District know about the history of the district and its significance?
This district is very significant, and I like to call it a legacy district, where it has had a African-American member of Congress for more than 53 years. And the first person elected was Barbara Jordan, and she also became the first woman from the Deep South to be elected to Congress. And she was followed by the late Mickey Leland, who passed away on a humanitarian mission to Ethiopia. And after that, we had Craig Washington, who served, I think, 3 terms. And after Craig was elected, when he left, the seat was held by Sheila Jackson Lee. And she, for 30 years in terms of that seat. And then Sheila Jackson Lee, unfortunately and tragically, she passed away. And then we had the former mayor of Houston, Sylvester Turner. He was elected, and Sylvester Turner also had an untimely death in terms of passing away. And so it's an interesting district, but it's a district that has been represented by an African American since the day that it was created, and that has been more than 53 years ago.
How the demographics of the district itself changed over the course of that time?
The district itself could be described as being an opportunity district that favors the election of an African American when it was created, but now is trending in terms of increasing in the Hispanic demographic or population, but it is still a majority-minority district and something that we would describe as an opportunity district for a minority candidate.
The 18th Congressional District was front and center in the redistricting fight over the summer in the legislature during the special sessions, in large part because of the letter that the Trump administration's Justice Department sent Governor Abbott back in July, identifying the 18th as one of several quote-unquote unconstitutional racial gerrymanders. How has that affected what we're seeing leading up to tonight's election?
Yeah, what happened is if you look at what happened or what transpired, President Trump, through his Justice Department, indicated that there was something known as coalition districts. And one of the federal court cases, coalition districts were deemed to be unconstitutional based upon the whole concept of racial gerrymandering. And so what happened, there was a letter sent to Governor Abbott where the charge was given. They looked at 3 districts in particular. The 18th Congressional District was one of those. The other district in the Houston area as well is District 29, represented by Sylvia Garcia, and the other one is the 33rd Congressional District in Texas. So those districts were singled out because they have what we call coalitions in terms of the majority makeup of those districts, in particular 18 and the 29th Congressional District.
As of yet, we don't know the final results of the special election. However, much of the polling has pointed to a very close contest, and we're dealing with a field of 16 registered contenders for this position. So there's a strong possibility that none of them will get the 50% of the vote plus 1 needed in order to avoid a runoff. If this contest goes to a second round, how will that work?
I think it's almost a certainty, given the 16 candidates that are in the field, that no candidate will receive 50% plus 1, which is majority of the vote. And then we would have what we call a runoff. And the runoff could be scheduled from January as early as February, all right? Because there are certain legal regulations and requirements that impact the canvassing of the votes. And one is the MOVE Act, which stands for the Military Overseas Voter Empowerment Act. There has to be a 45-day window after the election in order to receive the ballots from overseas and make sure that they are counted.
I want to take a step back. You had mentioned previously that between the death of Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee and then the death of Congressman Sylvester Turner, this is a district that has been without representation in Congress for the better part of 16 months.
Yes.
How has that affected the residents of the district in terms of their interests and their ability to have their voices heard at the federal level?
The residents of the 18 congressional districts do not have a voice. You're correct. The governor chose to delay the process, and many observers have indicated that was done to impact the congressional balance where the Republicans have the majority. We have a similar situation in Arizona where a person has not been seated. So the governor could have called the election earlier. What does it mean? What does it portend for the citizens of the 18th congressional district? Well, if you don't have representation, you don't have advocacy, you don't have anybody sitting on budget hearings, for example, that will impact the allocation of federal dollars coming into the district. And let's face it, one thing about Sheila Jackson Lee, she was very visible, in particular if there was a hurricane or natural disasters. We've had rains. We're often confronted with weather conditions and weather elements that could be very costly for the citizens who live in the 18th congressional district. So they don't have a voice. There's no one there. Now, they do have a staff, but that's constituency service. That's not like someone standing there and testifying before a congressional committee, listening to people who come to testify before congressional committees. So they're without a voice.
The 18th overlaps a good portion of the Houston area, but as we've been discussing, they are not the only district in the Houston area. Why should people outside the 18th care about what happens in the 18th?
Well, I think the midterm redistricting cycle in an 18th congressional district, what has happened in terms of state politics and redistricting, it has come to be somewhat of the canary in the coal mine, so to speak, because we could be confronted with redistricting or these partisan whenever a Congress decides or the presidents decide whether or not they want to increase the representation of their party, whether it's a Republican or a Democrat. Let's talk about what has happened. Immediately after Governor Abbott decided to call the legislature into special session and put on the item, one of the items was redistricting. We saw Gavin Newsom in California. And so, again, I think what we see here, it impacts minority representation also in terms of fairness. And Barbara Jordan would always say she just wants her country to do what's right and what's best for the country.
One of the factors that came into play during Sheila Jackson Lee's last run for office was this whole question of whether it was time for a generational shift in leadership. She died in office. Sylvester Turner, who won election to succeed her for a full term, was not much younger. He died in office. Right. And if Congressman Al Green were to contest the office in a primary next year, he is currently in his late 70s. What would be the effect on this district of yet a further delay in any kind of a generational shift in leadership?
Out of all respect to Congressman Al Green, I think what we will see is two models, if you will. One is an institutional model that would be explained in terms of Al Green if he wants to stay in Congress and represent the 18th congressional district. Seniority is important in terms of committee assignments. He's been there. He knows his way around the Congress. And you can say for the policy process of impacting that, he may be the best fit. However, on the other hand, there's another model which I would label as the renewal model. Look at the candidates. We have, according to one of the recent polls, our county attorney. He's in his early 30s. I think all of the candidates are under the age of 60. So we have to talk and have earnest discussions about succession. And within the African-American community, there's always been, I don't want to call it tensions, but how do we respect our elders and how do we position a new generation of leadership to succeed them? And so I think what you will see if Al Green does get into the race, that will be some of the messaging. In terms of Al Green will certainly make the argument that he's a member of Congress. And if you look at some of the recent polling, the citizens of this district, they ranked civil liberties and civil rights at the top. And Al Green can forcefully make the argument that he has stood up to Donald Trump. We have seen him file 3 impeachment bills against Donald Trump, and we also saw him walk off the floor of the Congress during the State of the Union message. So I'm sure this will be used in terms of some of the messaging and some of the images that we will see. But on the other hand, we have an impressive crop of people who are running, and namely you have Kristen Menifee. Again, he's very young. He's a county attorney. Amanda Edwards has been an at-large city council member. She also ran in 2020 for the U.S. Senate. And you have Jolanda Jones, who has been on the school board. She's been a city council member, and now she's a member of the Texas State Legislature. And these individuals, if you look at their messaging, I think it's tied into the whole question of what the voters may be thinking now who live in the 18th Congressional District. If you rank civil liberties and civil rights as the most important issues, you may believe that Donald Trump is an existential threat to the citizens of that district. And so they're making an argument, you need a fighter. You need someone who is robust, someone who is younger. And as Kristen Menifee likes to say, that he sued Donald Trump. He sued Ken Paxton. And that's what the messaging is about. And I think that is a part of the civil rights legacy. For example, if you look at the members of the district, going back from Sheila Jackson Lee, they weren't necessarily passing bills into law, but the advocacy was there and bringing home the bacon, as we say, in terms of making sure that Houston and the residents of the 18 congressional districts receive their fair share of the federal largesse.
We're talking about you.
You were just listening to News 88.7 government and politics reporter Andrew Schneider, an in-depth report on Texas' 18th Congressional District, talking with TSU Professor of Public Affairs Michael Adams. Special election coverage will continue tonight on Houston Public Media starting at 8 p.m. Ernie, what can people expect tonight on the coverage?
Well, it's an interesting point in the day on election night to have a program going. We'll know the early vote results. Teneshia Hudspeth told us that before, that they should be released at 7.
Right at 7, they come out.
7, a little after 7. They should know that. So, and that's going to be about 50% of the vote cast this election, it seems, from the way things are going. So it'll give us a really good indicator of where we're going. But we got to remember, too, early voters are different than day of voters and how they perceive the election. Day of voters tend to be a little more conservative. Early voters tend to be a little more liberal. But then again, it depends. We'll see. We'll know some results then. We'll also have reporters out in the field. We've got 4 reporters out there in 4 different areas. We'll be looking out at Cy-Fair ISD. We'll be taking a look at the city council at large race. We'll have folks with two or three of the candidates with the 18th, seeing how they're doing and what's going on. We'll be looking at the difference at the rural and the urban vote. Do the outside communities vote differently than inner city? Sure. How are we going to see that vote evolving? And then, once again, it goes back to turnout. If there's a huge turnout in the outer banks as opposed to in the city, will that sway what goes on? So
You've been doing this a long time.
Yeah.
So have you ever seen the early vote come in and it's like, 60-40, this is a done deal. But by the end of the night, it's like, 51-49.
As Donald Trump. That was the whole problem with the 2020 is
That's right.
Early on, because early voters were voting more heavily toward Trump. So, and that's why he said, well, you got to stop counting at midnight, because then the day's over. So stop early, stop counting, because he was already winning. But once you started bringing in all the votes, because the early vote for some reason helped him out. So when the votes started coming in of day of voting, that's when it all shifted again. And that's why he ended up not getting the numbers he needed in 2020. And so, yes, this does happen. But a 50% split is pretty big. And to get 50% early vote, that'll be interesting to see.
Especially in a fairly homogenous area like ours.
Yes.
And Andrew Schneider will be with me. Geronimo Cortina will be with me. Teneshia Hudspeth is going to call in. She's very busy, of course, but she'll give us the latest results on what was happening in the day, not necessarily numbers, but did they have any major problems? Right now, it looks like smooth sailing. And you can find everything out at Harris Votes
.com.
It's harrisvotes.com. I always get them back.
Oh, and
that's right.
You're going to be on 88.7.
Yes, and on YouTube. So you
and
can
on
watch
YouTube.
us online.
Okay, good. So the whole, just like we do here.
Yep.
Yes.
Just like we do.
From the studio?
Yes, right. I'm going to sit in the same
coming
chair.
up, we are going to take a look at Steel Magnolia Mom's Holiday Market. They're going to bring us some fun. Stay with us as Hello Houston continues.
You're serving drinks?
We know you value Houston Public Media. That's why you're watching right now. So take the next step and become a new member of the station you rely on. Every gift makes a difference. And what matters most right now is supporting the station that brings you the news and information you rely on. It only takes a minute to make a big difference. So join as a new member today at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 800-364-8300.
Support comes from Central Market, offering appetizers, party platters, baked brie, and more for holiday entertaining. Chef-prepared items are ready to serve or heat and eat. More at centralmarket.com.
Tonight on Houston Public Media TV8, enjoy a double feature of Finding Your Roots beginning at 7. Then, Frontline presents The Rise of Germany's New Right at 9. Tonight on TV8 or stream on the PBS app.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on any of today's topics, call 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now back to Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
With the holidays around the corner, there are an array of holiday markets and pop-ups coming to town. But there is one market in particular that isn't just about shopping and fun. It has a bigger mission. The Steel Magnolia Moms, a Houston-based nonprofit, will host its 6th annual holiday market to raise funds to help support mothers of children with special needs. And joining us now to tell us more is the founder and executive director of Steel Magnolias, Elizabeth Elder. Let's see here. Yes, good morning. And Steel Magnolia's Mom Holiday Market Chair, Maribel Farish, and Tiffanie Williams, a former board member as well as a volunteer. Welcome to Hello Houston.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
So why don't we just start with how and why did the holiday market start?
Well, Maribel and I had a little event at my house several years ago, and we were actually hosting it for a mom who was telling us that since she had a child with special needs that she wasn't able to get out of the house and work, and she really needed some income, but she didn't have any sort of platform, if you will, to go out and sell her goods. And so Maribel had a great idea and said, well, why don't we build a market for her? And initially it was just going to be her at my house, and then we had 4 other moms, and it was wonderful and it was successful. And at the end of the night, Maribel and I thought, well, you know what, we could actually do this again and grow it and do something positive with it and have those funds go to support an organization. This was before Steel Magnolia Moms existed, so we were kind of twiddling our thumbs trying to figure out what that special organization would be. And here we are probably 8 years later. This is now our 6th Steel Magnolia Moms Holiday Market.
Wow.
Where is it?
Well, it's actually at a new venue this year that we're really excited about. It's at the Goodman at Village Towers. It's right there in the heart of Memorial off of I-10 and Bunker Hill. And so you may be familiar with Belong Kitchen and Tree Beards and Mazrath's. There's a parking garage in the center of that property. And this event venue is there and will be on the first floor and in the ballroom downstairs. And we're just really excited.
Nice. When to win?
From 10 to 5 on Thursday, November 6th. So we're kind of saying this is our golden year because it's our 6th holiday market on November 6th.
Yes.
Question, and it's interesting because I think so many of us never think about the needs of parents of people with special needs.
That's right.
And to find that area and help support that. So help us understand a little bit more so that the audience gets it. What are those special needs that these parents have? I know that question came out so clumsily, but I think you know what I'm saying.
You mean, so as caregivers,
Yeah,
what do they need?
They don't realize, people don't realize that we often think about supporting people with special needs, but you forget about the caregiver, the parent that has to work, how that alters their lives too, and what they're trying to accomplish and do, and where they need help and aid and service.
It's 24/7.
Yeah.
Well, it is. And being a parent can be a hard job regardless, but when you add special needs, sometimes very complex, sometimes very life-threatening, you are on 24/7, and you don't really relate so much to your other friends who have typical kids and are doing the typical parent things. So it can be very isolating. So we literally built the village to help support the moms, and it's by the moms and it's for the moms, and we have a very active Facebook group. So we're on there. People are asking questions, so somebody who's a little bit further down the road can respond with, this worked for me, this didn't work for me. And that's been the heart. So we have thousands of moms now on our private Facebook group. And not only that, we get together to give community and host events and get the girls out to get all together and hug each other. And we provide mental health support with weekly drop-in meetings and education. And we pay for private therapy if somebody needs that support, like if they're in crisis.
Now, to know you're not alone is so important.
It just gives you community and other moms who just get it. Your child might have a very different diagnosis than mine, but you just get it. You just get that complexity and the overwhelm and the worry and how hard it can be on your finances and your relationship with your spouse and the other siblings. Oftentimes, it's tough. Right. So there's very different needs.
And there's got to be that worry. What if something happens to me? You know, who's going to take care of my child?
Right.
And that's a real concern.
Because very few people are capable of taking care of our children, right? Sometimes it's very specialized training. Sometimes it is a super sect of attributes that most people don't have. I mean, you have to be an angel, really. You have to have an extra set of patience, strength, just empathy, kindness. And so even finding a babysitter can be extremely hard. You can't just hire the cute high school girl down the street. It's very specialized, let alone, to your point, having somebody who's capable of taking care of your child if something were to happen to you. So these are actually issues that we address in our lecture series called Smart Talks. We do a quarterly lunch and learn, and this is where we really address those nitty-gritty just topics that honestly I would rather be hanging out, hiding underneath my covers and just la blocking my ears. I don't want to pay attention to it, but you have to. And so it's right. So it's guardianship, it's
estate
planning, puberty, all of these things that we really do need to educate our moms so that they feel empowered and they can advocate for their children and for their families. So that's one of the ways that we support them.
There's nothing like honest conversation.
Right.
About everything.
Right.
I mean,
and everything is on the table in these conversations.
Maribel, you have chaired this event for many years now. How have you seen it grow, and how do you guys balance making sure that you are inclusive with the type of products that you're selling or that is going towards the event?
Well, as Elizabeth mentioned, we started just casually, and then when Still Magnolia was founded by Elizabeth, and she graciously invited us to be on the board, we were like, well, how do we fundraise for this? And to be able to help all these moms. And we started like the first time we got together, were 25 people, on our gatherings. But the market, our first market, I was telling Elizabeth this morning, I remember we made $3,000 and we were over the moon, and we were so excited. And that was the coldest day in Houston before this freezes that we had.
Rent warmers the last second.
So we grew from 4 vendors that we had that day, and then the first one actual under Steel Magnolia Moms that we did was 20 vendors. And last year we had 50 vendors. And a lot of them were, we had some wait list, and this year we're having 70 vendors in a new venue. And we've been changing venues because it has been growing. And we feel so blessed because it has not only grown in vendors, but also in our committee. A lot of the committee, it's all moms who have children with special needs. And talking about the who participates, so we have vendors who are adults with disabilities. They either are in a program that supports children with special needs. Adults with special needs, I'm sorry. Or we have actually 2 adults with special needs that are owners of their business. And so we have 5 vendors. And plus we always reserve 5 spots, 5 booths for Steel Magnolia moms who we want to support. As Tiffanie said, it's for the moms, by the moms, for the moms.
Right, who are trying to get their business off the ground, which kind of goes back to how we first started this market. Let's help these moms be able to sell their products.
Okay, there's got to be fun part, though, when you're curating the event, deciding who's getting in and who's not. Are you out sampling? Are you trying all these things throughout the year?
I wish. Yeah. No? My husband would wish that because I run the credit. We get to buy a lot of fun stuff.
We were, begging, encouraging everybody to come join. Now we have a wait list, and it's grown. And
what's a good laundry list of the kind of things people can purchase?
Oh, gosh.
A lot of gifts. There's women's clothing. There's jewelry. We have art. We have macaroons. Actually, that's one of our Steel Magnolia moms, Kate. There's just...
Is it Christmas oriented?
One of my favorite candles.
There are some vendors that have Christmas wares for sure. But there's tons of things that are year round.
There's accessories. There's wine. There's food items.
Right, it's a little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything, and also our vendors have been so gracious and generous. They donate one of their items that they sell for our raffle, and our raffle is fabulous. I mean, we have value $30,000 value of raffle, and part of it is vendor donations and others that our raffle team has.
Can I go online and buy a raffle ticket?
Yeah, you sure can. You do not need to be present to win.
So what is the?
And I will drop your ticket with a little extra lucky, sauce on there for you.
So what's the website?
So if you go to steelmagnoliamoms.com, then you can go to events and purchase tickets. However, now I'm saying this, yesterday was the last day to purchase tickets online. So you can come purchase at the door. And but Frank, I am happy to make a deal for you on the side.
I love the name. I mean, Steel Magnolias was iconic back in the day. That was late 80s when the movie came out. And it just what does it mean to you? What does Steel Magnolias mean to you?
Well, it's funny because the movie at the time really was not significant in how I named this organization.
Really?
My older sister, she would kind of give me these pep talks when my daughter Annabelle was little, and we were just starting to have these first signs of challenges, and it was very difficult. My sister lived on the other side of the country, and so at the end of these conversations, she would just say, well, you're my Steel Magnolia. And it always just kind of made me sit up a little straighter, just made my heart open a little bit, and gave me a little extra strength. And so a Steel Magnolia is someone who has uncommon fortitude. They're strong, they're beautiful, a little extra grit and grace. And ironically, it's just funny how life happens. My first 2 children, who are 14 months apart, they were the ones who made me a Steel Magnolia mom. They had a rare mitochondrial condition. We actually lost our daughter Annabelle 4 years ago due to complications.
Right before a market, one of the markets.
That's right. And so our middle son, Blair, who has Lee syndrome, he's doing great. He's 13. He's thriving. Our youngest, Clerk, who is neurotypical and doing great, he was actually diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, which is what Shelby has in the movie, right?
Yeah, that's the tough one.
Right.
Yeah, so he was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes a year after Annabelle passed away. And I just had this moment of like, this is wild that Steel Magnolia Moms is this organization that I've built to support moms of children with special needs. And yet I now feel like I have a very strong connection to that movie and can relate to Sally Field and drink the juice, Shelby.
Drink the juice, Shelby. Elizabeth Elder is the founder and executive director of Steel Magnolia Moms. Maribel Farish is this year's chair of the Steel Magnolia Moms Holiday Market. And Tiffanie Williams is a volunteer and former board member. Thank you all for joining us today on Hello Houston.
And good luck.
Coming up, we'll continue diving into today's top stories. Stay with us for the second hour of Hello Houston.
Stay tuned. There's more Hello Houston on the way with Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at HoustonPublicMedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from listeners like you. And from the Houston Ballet, presenting Stanton Welch's The Nutcracker. The holiday tradition returns to the Wortham Theater next Friday. Tickets available at houstonballet.org.
This is your NPR station, KUHF, Houston. News 88.7, a service of the University of Houston. It's 12 o'clock.
Just ahead on this hour of Hello Houston, we'll be joined by Harris County District Attorney Sean Tiare, who will discuss a potential crime spike due to the loss of SNAP benefits for nearly 500,000 residents across the county. I'm Frank Billingsley.
And I'm Celeste Diaz-Sherman. We'll also speak with United Way of Greater Houston's Mary Vazquez about resources available for those in need of support until their SNAP benefits are credited to their accounts.
And I'm Ernie Manous. We'll also get a preview of the upcoming Disaster Expo USA, taking place at the George R. Brown Convention Center this week.
And we want to hear from you. Give us a call or send us a text at 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. You can also watch us on YouTube by going to houstonpublicmedia.org.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. Voters in several states are choosing new governors, mayors, or voting up or down major ballot measures. NPR's Ashley Lopez is following the three-way race for mayor of New York City.
The frontrunner for that race is Zohran Mamdani, who is 34 years old, and he's a member of the New York State Assembly. He won the Democratic primary this summer, which surprised a lot of folks because he was relatively unknown when he entered the race, and he beat a former governor in that primary contest, Andrew Cuomo. Cuomo decided to stay in the race by running as an independent. In the last days of the campaign, Cuomo has gotten some big endorsements, including the president's, but this hasn't been an easy fight for him. Mamdani has a very energetic grassroots campaign that has engaged a lot of young voters in the city, especially on affordability issues.
That's NPR's Ashley Lopez. The Republican nominee is Curtis Sliwa, the founder of the anti-crime organization Guardian Angels. The three are competing to succeed Mayor Eric Adams. The government shutdown is placing new strain on federal workers in high-stakes jobs, the people responsible for keeping the public safe. Here's NPR's Windsor Johnston.
TSA agents, air traffic controllers, and other federal workers responsible for public safety are showing up for duty without pay. And for many, the stress is mounting.
You know that you have to show up for work, even though the whole part of your body is saying, no, it's not okay, it's not fair, I'm not being paid for my critical work.
Martha Wadsworth is a psychology professor at Penn State University. She says that kind of chronic stress can interfere with the very judgment these workers rely on to keep others safe. She says the longer the shutdown drags on, the deeper the impact. And for federal employees with families, the pressure is even greater, both on and off the job. Windsor Johnston, NPR News, Washington.
The United Nations says people in southern Gaza have seen improved access to food since the start of the ceasefire. But as NPR's Aya Batrawi reports, food insecurity remains acute in northern Gaza, where a famine was declared over the summer and where no food aid convoys have been allowed entry by Israel in 2 months.
The World Food Program says meat, eggs, fruits, and vegetables remain very rare in Gaza. The agency says Israel is only opening 2 crossings into Gaza, severely limiting how much aid can be brought in. Food supply remains insufficient, and families are still struggling to put food on the table nearly a month into the ceasefire. The UN humanitarian agency OCHA says around 20% of households in Gaza report still eating only 1 meal a day. That's despite more bakeries and food kitchens now operating and the distribution of UN food parcels to 1 million people in recent weeks. And with no electricity or enough cooking gas entering, the UN says most are still burning trash to cook with. The Israeli agency responsible for facilitating aid to Gaza has not commented on the continued impediments.
It's NPR News.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Alexandra Hart. Voting is underway on this election day. In addition to 17 state constitutional amendments on the ballot, there is a special election to fill the seat previously held by Sheila Jackson Lee for years in the 18th Congressional District. Former Houston Mayor Sylvester Turner last represented the district before he died earlier this year. Former Houston City Council member Amanda Edwards is running for that seat. She says she's encouraged by what she saw in early voting and already in today's turnout.
We saw a turnaround and uptick in voters towards the end, and it looks like the election day line is starting to form, and so people are wanting to cast their vote and make their voice heard.
News 88.7's Sarah Gruno spoke with the Harris County Clerk about turnout numbers. Sarah, what are you hearing?
More than 30,000 people have voted on election day so far. County Clerk Teneshia Hudspeth says that they expect voter turnout today to be significantly higher than the early voting period.
In terms of turnout, at the end of early voting, over 212,000 voters had voted here in Harris County. Now, when you think about the amount of registered voters, 2.5 registered, that was only 8% of the vote as of the last of early voting.
Compared to previous off-year elections, this one is expected to see the second highest election day voter turnout. Voters in the greater Houston area can vote at any polling location across Harris County today.
News 88.7's Sarah Gruno reporting, and you can read more about what's on the ballot at houstonpublicmedia.org. Houston ISD says it's stepping up to help address food insecurity now that some families aren't receiving SNAP benefits due to the federal government shutdown. Mike Miles is the state-appointed superintendent for the district.
Every weekend for the next 4 weekends, I believe we will work with the Houston Food Bank to provide distribution of food at Hattie Mae. That's the administration building.
Miles says the district will continue distributing food at least once a week at the Sunrise Centers. The federal government shutdown is on track to be the longest in our nation's history. I'm Alexandra Hart, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Progressive Insurance with its Name Your Price tool, a way to see coverage options based on a driver's budget. Learn more at progressive.com or 1-800-PROGRESSIVE. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Live from Houston Public Media and News 88.7, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now, Hello Houston with Ernie Manous, Celestia Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
And not only is it all that, it is Election Day, and I hope that everyone heeding our plea to go out there and vote. It's easy to do. It's fast to do. We're hearing there's no lines anywhere. Get in, vote, make your voice be heard. Often people complain they don't vote because of the weather.
Yeah,
Frank?
well, and today it's too sunny, too beautiful, too comfortable.
That's why they're not voting?
I know. I couldn't vote. It's just too nice of a day.
Yeah.
I had to go to the park.
But it's a great excuse because most work allow you time to take off to vote, and the waits are so low. Say you're going to vote, go vote, and then enjoy the afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, even lunchtime is so quick.
Yeah.
It took us like 5 seconds to vote.
Yeah, it's really quick. It's convenient. The only person you have to blame is yourself if you don't vote, because when you vote, you decide the direction that your city, your county, your state, and the nation is going. It's up to you. I want to make sure you vote. Have I sung that song enough today already?
We know, and you're on at 8 o'clock tonight.
Oh, my God. Thank you for remembering.
Yep.
8 o'clock tonight, we'll have live election coverage from 8 to 9. I'll be joined by Andrew Schneider, our government and politics reporter, and also we will have Geronimo Cortina from Party Politics with us, and we'll also be talking with Teneshia Hudspeth to hear how the day went when it came to voting. All of that is in the future, but Celeste knows what's happening right now. Take it away.
Thanks, Ernie. Harris County District Attorney Sean Tiare on Monday warned of a potential crime spike this month amid a loss of SNAP benefits for nearly 500,000 residents across the county. The district attorney said food insecurity is one of the largest crime drivers in the world. His comments came Monday when the Trump administration said it would partially restore food benefits to SNAP recipients in November. An estimated 3.5 million Texans benefit from SNAP payments, which had been frozen starting on Saturday as the federal government shutdown entered its second month. And joining us now to discuss is Harris County District Attorney Sean Tiare. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having
me.
In studio. I'm so glad to be here.
I don't think we've ever met face to face.
I don't think so. I grew up watching you, as I said, on Zoom last night, but never in person.
Well, I've watched you for the last couple of years. Congratulations on your success.
Thank you.
You know, Sean, for decades, researchers have studied public health consequences in crime in America. And I think nutrition is often overlooked. Now we are looking at America's largest anti-hunger program that has been essentially paused and will restart again. What are your thoughts on this as we go into this new wave?
We haven't done enough to combat hunger and to pause in any way the largest outreach and help in the nation. The studies are unequivocal. It drives crime. When people have food instability, it is one of the largest crime drivers in the world, historically and currently. So when you're talking about this, it quite frankly is terrifying, and it's going to erode. My concern is a lot of the work we've done over the last few years that has shown that crime and violent crime specifically is down.
Yeah. It's a classic Les Miserables tale, isn't it?
Exactly
Steal
right.
a loaf of bread because you're hungry, go to prison. It doesn't help things. With the recent announcement, yesterday's announcement, days are all confusing to me, with the president saying that they were putting some more money back into this for partial funding, do you know exactly what the time frame is on that, what it actually means, what people will see on their cards and when?
I don't think anyone does. I think historically, whatever he says is typically not things that actually happen. So I'm concerned that we're not going to see it in real time. But think about it. A single day of delay is really the floating or sinking for some families. There are people that don't have the capability and wherewithal to survive a single day without the benefits. So any pause and any partial funding is quite frankly not enough.
You probably know better than I. I was doing sort of a brief look at what kind of money these people are getting that are on SNAP. Maybe $500 a month.
Exactly. But that's the difference sometimes between keeping your apartment, keeping food on the table one day, just the $500. We're not talking about thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. We're talking about basic subsistence.
And the legislature made some rules about what these monies could go to. Have those been enforced?
Enforcement of any of this kind of thing is hit and miss, and because of the volume of people that are utilizing them. But at the end of the day, if 1 or 2 or 10 people are misusing these funds, the vast majority of them are using them to feed themselves and their children.
Now, Sean, when we're looking at Harris County and we're looking at crime, where are we at right now within our county, and what are you doing to anticipate potential spikes?
Yeah, we're in a very good spot. Look, our violent crime numbers across the board in every category are down, and they have been trending down since 2022. Our jail population is down from a high of 9,900 to we are sustaining at 8,600. We've already canceled a number of the contracts where we are exporting people to different jails because we're overcrowded. We're really moving in the right direction. but we're anticipating, and we always need to anticipate spikes in crime. You know, the next hurricane is coming. The next pandemic is likely coming. And so we've got to continue to build our infrastructure so that we can sustain this success going forward.
Do you think some of that's due to the increase in salaries for law enforcement?
I don't think we've seen that benefit yet. I think we are going to reap some benefits of having retention and more experience on the streets because of the increases in salaries, but it's been so soon and it just kind of has taken to effect. I don't think we're seeing that yet, but I think we are going to see benefits to that in the near future.
And what are we doing to help make up for the SNAP issue? Food banks, because Medicaid help with prescriptions that these people might need?
To an extent, and yes, any of that, but I can't believe we have to say this, but we've got to pick up the slack for the federal government. And it is whatever you can do. Yesterday we were out at a food bank issue handing out food, and it is whatever you can donate. Is it money? Is it food? Is it your time? Whatever you can do as a person to get out there and help those with less is going to be meaningful.
In our county, do you have any idea of how many people we're talking?
So the numbers that I have seen are somewhere between 800,000 and 900,000 people that rely on SNAP benefits.
In a county of 4 million?
Yeah.
25% of us.
Yeah.
Wow, Sean, that's a lot.
It is.
I had
concerning.
no idea.
Yeah.
And I want to go back to a little bit when you were talking about the rates when we talk about abuse or crime, because a lot of folks are arguing, well, you know, it's a good thing it's pauses because we can take a better look at who's been abusing the system. When you talk about the sheer number of people that need to be on it, even if you're talking about 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people, it's a tiny percentage of those that are actually being helped. So in any massive number of large amounts of people, there's going to be some on the fringes that are going to take advantage.
Always.
But it's very small.
Yes. And those people that want to talk about individuals that are misusing it, what I think we're kind of missing as well is this doesn't just affect the 500,000 to almost 1 million people that are utilizing this in Harris County. This affects businesses and business owners everywhere because these monies are then put into our commerce stream, and you're going to have people losing that revenue, which then will put them closer to this issue. So it is a county and statewide issue.
Well, we all saw on Sunday the domino effect of the airlines. TSA doesn't work, then people can't get on their planes, then there's delays, and there are people on the tarmac. I mean, it just goes on and on. To your point, when people don't have the money they normally go and spend, then the business owners and everybody that supplies the business owners, it just goes on and on as to how it affects them. And if you're talking about almost 1 million people in this county, that's a huge amount of money not coming in.
That's exactly right. And it will affect eventually every person in this county, right? And which we drive the state of Texas. We are the biggest county in the state of Texas, the second biggest county in the United States now. So as we go, the state of Texas goes, and that's
Do you
a problem.
really think it'll spike crime? Have you seen any evidence of that, or are you just guessing?
So the studies are really unequivocal over the last years and decades that 1% increase in food instability translates to about a 12% increase in crime. That is, this is not something that's just hyperbole or anything. It is a real issue.
Well, we've seen people draw lines over oil. You can imagine what they're going to draw a line over when it comes to food.
That's exactly right.
That's right. You're listening to Hello Houston. We are speaking with Harris County District Attorney Sean Tiare. If you have a question or comment and would like to join the conversation, you can give us a call or send us a text at 713-440-8870. Now, Sean, I was reading the Journal of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, and this is dietetics. This is exactly what they were essentially saying. But I'm also looking at, you talked about the pandemic. Crime is going down. Do you think that the reason crime is simply going down because we were coming out of a pandemic, and that is usually that causes a spike, and so we're just kind of in a good position because of that?
I think that there's no question that the decline was due to a huge spike
during
initially.
COVID.
But that means that we've got to continue to build and capitalize on that. And I think you've seen over the last year that because of really a tight grouping and relationships of the leaders in this county, we've been able to maximize the success of that decline and go further with it.
Right. Now, there's also the perception, though, I think a lot of people in Harris County and Houston feel not necessarily that safe. What are your thoughts on, yes, the numbers are showing that we're going down, but you still hear, I mean, just last week, a car was stolen in our neighborhood. Right. You still hear about that offhanded situation happening. How do you combat perception versus the reality in numbers?
So I say this all the time, but crime is just theoretical until it's personal. And, and that really affects, when your neighbor gets their car stolen or their home broken into, now you don't feel safe. That is a crime wave in a one issue thing. And so I think it really needs to be messaging, right? It needs to be, yes, we are dealing with that one instance, but overall. So it's a yes and, because yes, crime is personal to you when that happens, and the anecdotal stories terrify us all. But we do need to be very vigilant about continuing the narrative that across the board, violent crime and crime as a whole is down.
Well, do you think the crimes that this would spark are more about shoplifting food because I'm hungry, as opposed to give me all your money and I have a gun at your back because I need the money to go buy food?
Well, what we've seen is that all the crime grows, right? The ones that were going to commit a crime now maybe arm themselves with a gun.
And
to
maybe
get
they
more
feel
money.
justified.
Exactly.
The government is making me do this.
You can attribute motives to just about anything.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are self-justification to go commit crimes. But at the end of the day, that doesn't matter to the victim. That doesn't matter to the person that's at that ATM with a gun in their ear. But it is a reality that we all need to be prepared for.
I hope that we're not mischaracterizing it as desperation leads to crime. That
That's
people
exactly.
can be desperate and can be feeling pain. Doesn't mean they all turn to crime.
And they don't.
Right. I just want to make sure that point's out there. But also, people talk about at the holidays, you see crime go up. With food insecurity, you see crimes go up. It could be a difficult juggernaut to get through unless something straightens out.
You're absolutely right. This is kind of a synergistic effect potentially of food insecurity, financial insecurity, and the holidays coming up. So we're going to be vigilant. We're going to be ready to tackle any increase that we see. But at the end of the day, the point is that we've got to get back to work in D.C. We've got to get in rooms and fix this. Put aside all political components to it. We've elected all of them to get up there and run a government, and that's not happening right now, and we're going to see it affect us here.
Well, it's also interesting because even if they were to start it again today, people have gone without food for a number of days.
Yep.
And so they may have things in storage, but for people that are living on that much, you are not buying to build your pantry. You're buying for what you need each day.
Right. They're not going to Costco to load up.
But also when you bring up, hold on one second, when you bring up Costco, I think of Walmart, and we were talking earlier about the amount that comes in through SNAP benefits that then fuels other companies. And wasn't Walmart just saying about the percentage?
It's about 27%.
Comes out of people who are using those benefits in their stores. And you can see the ripple effect right there then.
That's exactly right.
Is any word from the governor? Is there any preparation for the state to help with this situation, or are they crickets?
I haven't heard anything.
Haven't heard a word.
Certainly, we welcome any and all help.
Sean, I want to turn really quickly to a story out of Southeast Houston that made national news. It was called the Ding Dong Ditch case. Can you talk to us a little bit about that and where we are at in that case?
So the defendant was indicted a couple of weeks ago, I believe.
Some kids were ringing his bell.
Right, an 11-year-old was shot
in the back. Right.
Yeah.
Yes. And so, as I think we talked about it initially, this is not something that we're going to speed through. We were able to get an indictment secured, and now it is really getting ready for, I think in a case like this, an inevitable trial. This is not one that likely ends in a plea bargain. This is one where we're going to have to ask 12 citizens of our county to decide both whether or not the defendant is guilty and what the appropriate punishment is.
Has he undergone any kind of psychiatric evaluation that you know of?
So we are not at liberty to request that. That is something that if his defense team deems appropriate to do, they will do, and whether or not they want to share it with us before trial is something that, it kind of depends on what it says.
Right.
So I'm not aware.
Something else that continues to be top of mind when people think of the county is our Harris County jail system. You did touch on that a little bit. Where are we at on the latest issues that we've been having in there? We've had multiple inmates who have actually died within custody.
We have. It is when we were at 10,000 people in custody at any given time, we were dealing with, quite frankly, a humanitarian crisis in the jail. It has been one of the things that I've been most proud of this year, that our prosecutors have gone to trial. We have made plea bargains. We've dismissed cases that, quite frankly, needed to be dismissed, but may not have been the most politically sensitive ones to do. And so empowering my lawyers to do their job has resulted in an almost 1,400 person decrease without the rate of dismissals going up. So we've tried more cases already this year than we've tried since Hurricane Harvey in a given year, and we've got a lot more to go. Mm-hmm. We have sent more people to the Texas Department of Criminal Justice than we have in any year since at least 2016. But we've also diverted more cases before charging and after charging than we have in any given time. So we're moving cases.
When you talk about politically sensitive, what do you mean by that?
It runs the gamut from the Stephen Hotze aggravated assault cases that I could not find probable cause in. We dismissed those to, the former Harris County Health Barbie, I can't remember her last name. Mm-hmm. They're all politically charged cases, but if probable cause doesn't exist or we don't believe that we are going to be able to secure a conviction at a trial, our ethics demand we dismiss it, and dismiss it at that moment, not when it's politically expedient for me to do so.
Does anything keep you up at night?
Oh, yeah. I've got 4 kids. I don't sleep at all.
I didn't mean that. I meant sort of like on your plate as what you do professionally.
Yes. It really runs the gamut. I worry about my almost 400 lawyers and 600 people that help staff that office, whether they're able to do their job and whether they feel empowered to do it. That keeps me up a lot. I worry every time I get a click to push notification, what is this one going to say, right? Because eventually it's gonna wind its way to me. It really does run the gamut from week to week, but yeah, sleep is sometimes hard to come by.
For somebody that folks in the community look up to, and a lot of folks are, as we started with this conversation, concerned about how they're going to feed their families, how they're going to feed themselves, what's going to happen over the next few days, or it could even be weeks, God forbid, months. Right. What would you say to them right now?
That there are people out here that are there to help. It may not get to the level that we all hope it will, but there are so many people in this incredible community that are here to help. Just reach out and reach out to any and everyone that they can find.
I would add also reach out to your elected officials and tell them you want them back working and to fix this problem.
Yeah, and to echo the way that we started this segment, get out today and vote.
Thank you.
Your voice heard.
You're singing Ernie's song.
Trust me, as a politician now, mine too.
Harris County District Attorney Sean Tiare. Sean, thank you so much for joining us today on Hello Houston.
It's my pleasure. I'm glad to be in studio, and I want to come back as much as I can.
Fabulous. That's right. Coming up on Hello Houston, we are going to have more topics and things to talk about. We'll be back after this break.
Hello, I'm Bob Maniger from the Ed and Jean Matthews Foundation. PBS has been a part of our family for generations. and we are proud supporters of Houston Public Media. From PBS Kids programming that supports children and their parents to PBS NewsHour that we rely on to learn about what's going on in our world. Your support keeps PBS available for our community across Greater Houston. Give now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
You can hear it Wednesday night at 9 p.m.
I'm Jeremy Hobson. Next time on The Middle, AI chatbots like ChatGPT and Claude can save you a lot of work, but are you worried that artificial intelligence is going to take your job, whether it's white collar or entry level?
I fear for the next generation because all of the experience that maybe we got in our 20s and 30s, there might not be that kind of ladder available to them.
Andrew Yang and Axios tech reporter Ina Freed join us next time on The Middle.
It's on Thursday night at 8 p.m.
Tonight on Houston Public Media TV8, enjoy a double feature of Finding Your Roots beginning at 7. Then, Frontline presents The Rise of Germany's New Right at 9. Tonight on TV8 or stream on the PBS app. Support for Houston Public Media comes from Good Reason Houston with the 2025 Houston Public Education Snapshot, tracking how Houston's schools are preparing students today for a living wage tomorrow. Learn more at goodreasonhouston.org.
Support comes from the law firm McFarland PLLC, eminent domain attorneys focused exclusively on representing landowners against the government's taking of private property for public use across the state of Texas. More at McFarlandPLLC.com.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from Hildebrand MBA at UT Austin's Macomb School of Business, offering the weekend MBA at Houston. Campus visit November 8th. Details at TexasMBAEvents.com. Make it here.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on any of today's topics, call 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now back to Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
On Monday, the Trump administration announced that it would use money from an agricultural department contingency fund to restart SNAP food benefits, but only for half the amount people usually get. The decision comes after 2 federal judges ruled that ending SNAP benefits was unlawful. But payments are likely to be delayed despite the ruling, according to the White House. So what resources are available to low-income individuals and families in need of support until their partial SNAP benefits are credited to their accounts? To discuss, we welcome Mary Vazquez, Vice President of Community Outreach for United Way of Greater Houston. Mary, welcome back to Hello Houston.
Hello, thank you for having me.
If you would like to join the conversation, if you have a question or comment, you can call 713-440-8870.
I have a first question. Help me understand this. So the decision came after 2 federal judges ruled that ending SNAP benefits was unlawful, but it's okay to end half of them?
Well, there's just not enough resources in the emergency supply in the fund that they have, and so they're only authorizing the amount of resources that they have available at this time.
Well, they're using $500 billion out of $800 billion from the Department of Agriculture.
Well, I think that they're only using the emergency fund amount, that contingency fund that had been allocated.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think it's $8 billion,
yes,
if I'm not mistaken on that. When we talk about all of this, I think people's first reaction is there's not food, so how do we get them food? But from the position of the United Way, you look at it much more holistically. If you're not getting your food payments, what money is being diverted to what and what? So how do you approach this situation?
Well, we talk to our callers, our help seekers that call our 201 Texas United Way helpline about what are their most immediate pressing needs. And so sometimes it is food, sometimes it's rent, mortgage assistance, sometimes utility assistance. And so we help them identify resources that can help them with whatever need they have. We know that at times like this, people often will pay rent first because that's a fixed amount. And food is a discretionary amount that you can spend more or less based on your budget. So individuals are making tough decisions and are using really scarce resources and supplementing what they can from food pantries to be able to make it right now.
Are you seeing anything within the industry, and I'm talking about the rental lodging, quote unquote, industry, where there is grace because they understand the situation? And I assume a lot of these organizations know when they have lower income people renting from them, so they know they're going to be hit first in this.
We have seen some of that. It really depends on the landlord and how long of an existing relationship individuals have with that landlord or that apartment complex, what type of agreement they can come to, whether they can make payments over time, that sort of thing. It really just it depends on the situation.
Yeah. Where are our churches in all of this?
You know, we have a really strong faith-based community here in the greater Houston area. So our churches are stepping up. Many of them are hosting super site food distributions or regular distributions on a regular basis to get food available to our community. I know that the Houston Food Bank partners with over 1,600 organizations to get food out into neighborhoods, and so many of those are churches.
Is it working? Are we seeing a big increase in those kind of volunteer contributions? We
have a need for more. Honestly, we are seeing increased individuals that are holding drives, either corporations, at the grocery store, many individuals are calling to say, how can I help? And I would say individuals can help by providing food donations to Houston Food Bank, providing monetary donations to Houston Food Bank, as well as volunteering. We have a great need for volunteers to help sort food products and box those products up for distribution through many of these super site locations.
I know sometimes when I go through the grocery store line, it will say, do you want to give extra money to the food bank? Is that working?
That is working, and there's lots of roundup campaigns. I know HEB has a roundup campaign for United Way currently underway, and that does help increase the amount of resources available to put out into the community.
So there are lots of different resources that are out there. We just got to make them work until the government gets back on track.
That's correct. There is resources out there. I would say that the resources never meet the demand, and so that's a concern that we always have. So we're probably meeting half the demand that's out there.
And that's exactly what I was going to ask. You know, Mary, we're talking a lot about SNAP because obviously supplemental nutrition assistance programs are right now at that forefront. But, you know, Medicaid, CHIP, WIC, there are a lot of other assistance programs that are in question or paused along with this. As an organization, how do you all prepare when already on any given day, when we don't have this type of situation, resources don't quite meet demand?
Well, you're right. All of those needs are interconnected. And so year-round, United Way of Greater Houston raises dollars and invests them in our community. We invest in over 100 different partners that really provide services for basic needs and financial stability resources, health, childcare, and other supportive services. So that's what we do year-round. In times like this, we really amplify the work that we're able to do by trying to make sure that we're leveraging all the available resources available to us, partnering with other organizations to be able to stretch those dollars and stretch the support that we have to be able to meet some of that demand.
I want to take you back to something you said a minute ago about when Celeste was talking about, and Frank also, about other organizations that step up, and you're saying, even with all that help, it's not going to meet the need that's out there. Even when the government is functioning at its best, they're not able to handle all the need that's out there. And I'm curious, how long do you think this situation can go on before it is totally devastating within our own communities?
You know, that is such a great question. Difficult to say. We know that the government shutdown is one thing, and once that ends, even when it ends, it will take days for individuals to start seeing benefits. Those that rolled off of benefits will be the first ones to go back on. But every single day, there'll be individuals, and it could take up to 5 days to load the benefit cards for individuals. So it just depends on how long it goes, how long the impact will last, and then what will happen as a result of that.
I'm guessing also during this time, all the resources we have within our community that usually feed are being depleted beyond what they usually are. Mm-hmm. And so for them to reload up and be able to step back out and do the work they do, is this does ripple.
It does ripple, and it does, the longer it goes, the more difficult it is to help, because of course, then once food insecurity is one thing, but then when you get into housing insecurity, that's another issue. If it goes too long and they're having to dip into their rent amount to be able to buy food, sometimes then that causes evictions for individuals that just don't have the resources. We know in our community, 45% of Harris County residents don't have $400 saved for an emergency. So it's a significant issue, and it is an escalating and compounding issue.
And the late fees on late rents so quickly kick in and are so crippling to those that need it, because they want to move people out if they can't pay. And then, unfortunately, who's coming back in? They're all in this situation.
That's right.
Very difficult.
Does it baffle you that our federal government would rather be in a standoff and let people go hungry?
It's just concerning, right? It is concerning. We are.
It's bewildering to me.
It is bewildering. It's concerning. We know that the need is real. We see it every single day. And through our work, through 211 Texas United Way Helpline, we answer 1.3 million calls from individuals annually seeking assistance. And that is just on a regular year. That was in 2024. And that's when we did have access to all of the public benefits available to them. And so this year, we're not sure. We are already seeing a spike. Our food calls are about 9.6% of that volume. It has gone up 2% in recent months because of what's been going on. And so we are trying to meet that challenge, trying to increase our staffing through our 211 Center to be able to address all of those callers that have needs and directing them to resources in their neyborhoods that can help them.
But yet we're going to build a big, beautiful ballroom. Don't you just shake your head?
I am in this industry. I've been in the sector for over 30 years, and to me, people, come first, right? And so I'm always really focused on the people and the needs and how can we help them.
Speaking of people coming first, United Way, sometimes there's been some myths or maybe misconceptions about how much donation goes to overhead versus to local communities. Can you talk to us a little bit about that, Mary?
Sure. So, and when we raise dollars to help the community, and we are running a very, very efficient operation at United Way of Greater Houston. We ensure that all the dollars available go out. There is a small percentage from M&G, from Management in General, to help the staffing that we all have, but it's well below the Better Business Bureau standard of what is an efficient organization. And so we really try to make sure all those resources to get deployed. We're always out fundraising dollars from private donors, from corporations, from foundations, to be able to get those resources on the ground to leverage all of the funds available to the community.
We are speaking with Mary Vazquez, who is the Vice President of Community Outreach for the United Way of Greater Houston. If you'd like to join the conversation, give us a call, 713-440-8870. We're seeing a note over here from YouTube that they're saying, what we're also forgetting about is that elderly and disabled can't get out to food banks and pantries, and they need help as well.
And Meals on Wheels, that's been hurt, from what I understand.
That has been hurt as well. So definitely, when you call 211, we can connect you to Meals on Wheels. We invest in several of the Meals on Wheels programs in our Greater Houston community to make sure that resource is available. And right now we are partnering with the Houston Food Bank to schedule appointments for individuals that need to get to super site locations or other food distribution locations. But we're also scheduling deliveries of foods for homebound individuals to make sure that food gets to them one manner or the other. And we are all able to get individuals to food pantries through transportations, through a Lyft program that we have, that we can pay for transportation access as well as needed.
Well, you're doing a lot. Give me some good news, Mary. Come on.
Yeah, well, I think that we remain hopeful. We are Houston strong. The community always steps up to help individuals when there is a need. We've seen it time and time again through every single disaster. Through the work that I do a lot of work during times of disaster, and I've seen it in action. I've seen it through the mobilization of resources and people coming together and partnerships that are happening. And so we are meeting as a network, as a sector, to make sure that we are coordinating and collaborating to be able to, as I mentioned before, stretch those dollars so that we can help as many individuals as possible. So there is good news there. I do believe that this too shall pass in terms of the shutdown, and that we will be focusing more on the longer term changes to the SNAP enrollment programs and eligibility programs. So that'll be where we're shifting our focus after this.
We're Houston, Texas, darn it.
We are Houston, Texas. We are Houston, Texas. And so I've seen great things from this community in the past, and I expect great things from this community in the future.
But we also need the help of the government right now. We need the SNAP program to get going. We were at a gala recently, and one of the performers was saying about 1 million dreams. And you look out at that audience, and they're there to raise funds to help with what's going on. And a comment I made there was that, I don't think any of you have had a dream that you will have a meal tomorrow. That's not your dream, but there are people in our community who that's the one thing they hope will be there tomorrow for them, and it's not. And they can't find a way through this right now. And so the work you folks are doing, the work a lot of organizations out here are trying to help get us through there, but the need is so great. And I guess I say all that to say if people can help in any way.
Yes, please do so. We, especially as adults, sometimes we sacrifice our needs, right, for the individuals that are older than us in our community, for those that are younger than us in our community. And so I would say that we need to think about the fact that the impact ripples across families, across in all sorts of demographic age groups, what have you. And so it's critically important that individuals step up and help if they can.
Yes, and we did get a couple of texts that say for people struggling with housing, please check out Pad Split. It works for people who may not be able to find traditional rentals. And we did get another text that says what's more baffling is that the state of Texas doesn't step in. The state has emergency funds specifically for situations like this. If Louisiana can do it, Texas certainly can.
That's what I was asking Sean about. Where is Governor Abbott in this situation? Just too bad.
Do we know if there is Texas resources and we could be leveraging those, or do we not know that?
We do know that Texas does have a rainy day fund, but again, I don't know how they deploy those resources.
I don't want to get political with you, but
all
I'm just
we heard
curious.
about during the legislature, we have $3 billion extra money, all this extra money, and then we're not hearing anything about it.
Right.
Mary Vazquez is the Vice President of Community Outreach for United Way of Greater Houston. Mary, thanks for joining us today and the work that you all do.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Coming up, we're going to get a preview of the Disaster Expo taking place at the George R. Brown Convention Center this week. Stay with us as Hello Houston continues.
National and local news, cultural programming, and great entertainment.
But with recent federal defunding, stations like Houston Public Media face real challenges.
Now's the time to step up.
Give now at houstonpublicmedia.org.
Thank you.
I'm Stephen Dubner, host of Freakonomics Radio. Every week, Freakonomics Radio explores the hidden side of, well, everything. From the economics of sleep to when is the best time to rob a bank. So tune in next time on Freakonomics Radio.
Freakonomics, Mondays at 9 p.m. on News 88.7.
Support comes from GenPro, a Houston-based home generator service providing power to homes during unexpected outages. More information at genpro.com or by calling 713-597-3521.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from Certa Pro Painters, offering residential and commercial painting services, from color consultations to full project management. Estimates and more at CertaPro.com.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from listeners like you and from White Oak Music Hall, presenting Big Thief Somersault Slide 360 Tour, Friday, November 7th. Tickets and more at whiteoakmusichall.com. Support comes from downtown Houston, a growing urban district and home to performing arts, Houston Rockets and Houston Astros, and global headquarters with over 1 million square feet of office leases signed this year. Details at downtownhouston.org.
And now back to Hello Houston. Join the conversation. Call now, 713-440-8870, or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now here's Ernie Manous, Celestia Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
All right, starting tomorrow, Disasters Expo USA, the premier event for professionals in the disaster management and response industry, will be coming to Houston for its 4th year, bringing together experts, innovators, practitioners from all over the world. This event will analyze recent disasters, emerging trends, and challenges to create a platform for sharing knowledge and solutions to aid the country's resiliency and recovery efforts. It'll take place at the GRB. That's through Thursday, November 6th, so a couple of days of this. To tell us more about the Disasters Expo, we're joined now by James Berryman, CEO of Fortem International US. Well, welcome to Hello Houston, James.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
We have seen the disasters. We're still recovering from Hurricane Helene. We've seen fire disasters in California, the gamut. I mean, now Melissa has just, raked Jamaica and Haiti and Cuba over the coals. So there are disasters, it seems like, all the time.
For sure. Just for clarity, the audio is really bad. I can barely hear you. Apologies.
Oh, the volume of what you're hearing can't hear us
sorry
clearly?
about that.
No, that's okay. If you can look on your setting and we'll look on our setting.
I'm also in the convention center, so it could be some background noise on my end.
Well, you sound fine to us. My point is there are disasters all over the place. So tell me a little bit about the scope of what you're trying to cover in 2 days.
Yeah, very good question. So we've run this expo now. This is our 9th edition in total. We're pretty strategic where we run them. So we always run one every year in Miami. And then the second one, we run in the states that we feel like we can help and influence the most. So last year we ran it in California, obviously very topical with the fires. And this year it's here in Houston, Texas. Obviously flooding, fires, the big issues here. The whole purpose of the show is to improve the way that disasters are predicted, prevented, and managed. So that's got scope across the visitors being any government entities, right the way through to large private firms as well that want to protect their businesses and their livelihoods from disasters.
So what's the short answer on that? I mean, you could get a lot of insurance if you can find it. You can build, we still build squares out of wood at the coast, which is not the smartest thing to do if you are going to be building for hurricanes. And we can build fireproof homes. We don't do it. We just don't do it.
For sure. And I think, look, that's the whole purpose of this thing is a turnkey solution where you can come and learn about how to better predict, prevent, and manage disasters. Because you could be the best person at managing and the cleanup of disasters, but without the prediction and the prevention first, the whole thing is pointless. So is everything from, there's a really cool product that senses fires from 2 miles away from a remote camera that's sort of put on utility pylons, right the way through to river flow sensors that even the most minute change of difference can therefore lead you to operate automatic flood barriers. So it's the entire solution that people can come and learn. I mean, we've got the likes of FEMA speaking at the event, Centerpoint Energy, and we've recently introduced a brand new zone within the show called the Resilient City Expo. So after a disaster has struck and people are cleaning up and rebuilding for the next time, how do you build your city or build your town to ensure something like that doesn't happen again?
When you are talking about disaster and Disaster Expo, how are you exactly defining disaster? What does it all encompass?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, a disaster is any natural disaster. So we split it into 4 sectors, really: flooding, fires, earthquakes, and storms. Those are the 4 main sectors that our show caters for.
And so we're not talking about human disasters. We're talking about natural disasters.
We are any disasters caused by nature. Yeah.
When you look back at attendees and what they go to and see and what they engage in, are there areas that surprise you that they're not focusing on more because you yourself, from looking at all of this things, you really got to be paying attention over here?
For sure. And that comes down to the prediction and the prevention aspects. There's quite a few people are focused on the management, the cleanup, the restoration. But obviously a lot of this can be prevented by just taking those 2 steps before this. And again, we've got awesome visitors speaking at the show, the likes of NOAA, who are obviously extremely prevalent in their weather forecasting. So it is definitely more focus needs to be put on the prediction and the prevention for sure.
So have you had any success stories? You've been at this for 4 years now. Has something come along and everyone said, oh my God, we should have been doing that 10 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, it's the point of the exhibition is keeping all of the visitors plugged in to the latest innovations within this industry. Ultimately, as technology changes every single year, as does a life-saving product. So, as an example, there are now products out there where, as an example, there's a flood. You don't just sort of chuck a life ring in and hope for the best. There's remote control life rings that you can sort of drive up the river to save people. In addition to that, as I mentioned earlier, one of the biggest innovations is AI, naturally. I think that's probably one of the biggest innovations in any industry, but specifically with sensing disasters now. So you can tap into satellites, you can have a look at the most at-risk zones for flooding. You can actually map where the floods are going to impact, and that will result in you being able to better reinforce those areas. Whereas rewind 10, 15 years ago, that technology wasn't available.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I think that's going to be instrumental. I would think that the same thing would apply when you have Santa Ana winds and certain soil conditions and drought conditions, that AI would be able to say, you have to watch this spot in Colorado. This is going to catch fire. Get ready for it.
Yeah, exactly. And look, that comes down to a massive source of fires in rural areas is obviously utility firms as well. And they've now got the technology that can sense, as I said, fires from 2 miles away. And they can pick up on the moisture levels in the soil and in turn predict how likely the fire is to spread. So AI is by far the biggest advance in technology, certainly that I've seen in this exhibition after its 9th edition.
James,
certainly for prediction.
James Berryman is the CEO of Fortem International US. James, thank you for joining us today on Hello Houston.
No worries. Thank you so much, guys. And for anyone visiting, the doors are open tomorrow at 10 a.m.
Thank you.
Good. The disaster.
Cheers, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you. The Disaster Expo will take place tomorrow, November 5th through Thursday, November 6th at George R. Brown Convention Center.
Yep. So always important to know the latest
Stay
technology.
up to date.
Technology fascinates me, and what he's talking about a camera that can identify a fire from 2 miles away. When you implement things like that, how much safer it makes your city and concerns.
I think AI is going to be instrumental in disaster, at least prediction.
Yeah.
It can predict it. We still have to prevent it, and we still have to mitigate it and deal with it.
Just like elections. You can predict election results, but you have to get out and practice and get in there and be part of it. And guess what? You can do that today. Voting is going on right now all across the country. In Harris County, you can vote anywhere if you're registered in Harris County at any spot in Harris County. You have till 7 p.m. tonight. And we keep hearing one of our regulars on the YouTube channel said during the show, went out, voted, came back, and got to enjoy the rest of the show.
So, Ernie, what can people expect tonight on the special coverage? Because we say special coverage and elections, but talk to us a little bit about it.
Well, one of the beliefs here at the station is that we are a local station sharing local information with a local audience. It's great to go online, to go to the national news sources and see what's happening nationally, but what's happening in our own region. So we thought it was important to dedicate some time on election night. And we know this is a smaller election today. It's what they call an off-year election. But there are important races. So we're going to be looking at what we have found out already. We're going to go on at 8 o'clock, 8 till 9, but we'll go longer if the stories warrant. It's going to be on News 88.7, but also on YouTube. Andrew Schneider, our government politics reporter, will be lending his expertise. Geronimo Cortina from the University of Houston, but also the host of Party Politics, will be here also analyzing. He'll be talking more about the propositions and what early election results will tell us, because once the polls close, then they're allowed to give out the early voting totals. So we'll be able to look at some of those. Teneshia Hudspeth will be with us to talk about if there were problems, if we saw any complications.
Do you see any runaway?
It's hard when you're talking about runaway within the races that are happening.
I would think a property tax reduction would be a runaway.
Well, but I think people don't understand what the propositions actually mean.
Exactly.
They're
That's
worded
exactly what I think.
confusingly.
Well, that's why the League of Women Voters is
Puts out a
great voting guide. And the
it's
other thing is,
nonpartisan, which we must always push. If you're going to vote today, go to their website. If you don't understand the propositions and look through it, they'll analyze it for you.
I think what's very interesting about, we keep saying that this is a smaller or, not off-year election, but District 18 has really made national news.
Mm-hmm.
We know that California is going to be watching this. We know New York's going to be watching this. There's a lot at stake.
California's a big one because they're voting on their amendment to be able to go and redistrict.
Okay,
That's right.
Mamdani or Cuomo?
It's going to be Mamdani if I had to pick.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm
think
thinking.
If there wasn't Sewall, the third guy in the race, then Cuomo would, I think, take it.
I think he
It
could
was
be a
close.
game changer for the country.
But we're local.
And that brings us to the end of our show. We want to thank you for watching and listening to Hello Houston. We will be back tomorrow with more conversations. Don't forget tonight, special coverage of this election starts at 8 p.m. right here on News 88.7. Go out and vote.
Thanks for listening to Hello Houston. Join us every Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. to talk all things Houston. The Hello Houston production team includes Garrett Bowman, William Menjivar, Jen Altai, Todd Holslander, and Jim Cavacci. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at HoustonPublicMedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
I'm Jesse Thorne. You want some real, insightful conversations about where art comes from? Well, Bullseye has you covered, as long as you don't mind